Hello, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And we are reading The Storm Before the Calm by Neil Donald Walsh. And I think we're on chapter 19. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. And Linda, our wonderful reader, is going to start reading. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. All right. As Nanette said, we're on conversation 19. That starts on page 129. And we're just about, this says we're 47% through. So we're about halfway in. Okay. Conversation 19. A brand new story for a brand new day. Now we're getting to it. Here comes the fun part. Here's where the conversation starts moving in exciting new directions. Let's begin exploring ideas for a new cultural story by taking a look at what the old story we read about in conversation 15, only with a little different twist, yes? We'll use that old story as a template, simply overwriting new ideas on top of it. A good portion of my thoughts about humanity's new cultural story have come from the CWG dialogues. So I'm reaching into the many messages that I had shared with the world in lectures and in workshops and in my writing for many years, placing them before us. Once again, some ideas that I have always believed could change our world. Not everyone, of course, has heard my lectures or read my books. So for them, these expressions will be brand new. If you're one of those who has heard some of this from me before, I am hoping that this reminder of what our lives could be like will be even more enticing the second time around. So here, following is the parallel of the old cultural story that was outlined in conversation number 16. It might be interesting for you to bookmark both places, then bounce back and forth between them, comparing the old to this new one. We are born into a friendly world created by a God who has nothing that he wants us to do and nothing that she wants us not to do, and who will never punish us for anything at all, because our new understanding of God will make it clear that God is unable to be hurt or damaged, disappointed or angered in any way. Our first experience in physical life is of oneness with our mother, the source of our life, as we experience it in the womb. This sets the tone and creates the context for our entire reality, which we experience as oneness with the source of all life. We are not only one with all life, but with everything else in life. Everything that exists in unity with us, and we are one with everything else that exists. We are so happy that it is this way because this offers us a direct experience of the most significant aspects of ourselves. We are glad it is not otherwise, and indeed, we strive to make sure that no one imagines for even one moment that it is otherwise and that they are alone. We seek in the living of our families to express oneness with all things, and especially with each other. We know and understand why, exactly, that it seems almost instinctual, that it feels like the natural thing to do. It is because oneness is our natural state, and it is this instinctual for us to express our natural state of being. There is no problem, even if in a moment of confusion there does not seem to be enough of any one other person, place, or thing to satisfy us, because by returning to our core value and our deepest truth, we know that the source of everything we could possibly desire lies within us, for the precise reason that God and we are one. We therefore experience ourselves as always having enough of everything. We always have enough love, always have enough time, always have enough money, always have enough of whatever it is we think we need in order to be happy and fulfilled. The moment we imagine in a temporary confusion that we do not have enough, we return to our core value and our deepest truth, and we see the illusion. Since we are clear that there is enough of whatever it is, we think we need to be happy. We realize that we don't have to do stuff to get as much as we get. We know that nothing is required of us to get everything, from God's love to the natural bounty of life. Simply being alive is enough. Therefore, we, like all the things in life, are enough. Because just being is sufficient. There's no stuff that we have to do. Life is not a process by which the ones who do the right stuff get to have the things that they need to be happy. Everyone gets to have those things. And the so-called right stuff doesn't exist anyway, since there is no such thing as right and wrong. Because we don't need to do the right stuff in the right way. You don't win or lose in life. You simply live it joyously always. Thus, no competition with anyone else is necessary. There's enough out there, so we don't have to compete for it. We don't have to compete for anything, especially God. Life is not a competition that is tough, and our experience and purpose is not about survival. It is about expression. Specifically, the expression of divinity in, through, and as us, and the experience of heaven on earth. There is no such thing as only the fittest survive, or to the victor go the spoils. You cannot be a loser. And so you get to live a heaven on earth. After you die, you cannot be a loser in the competition for God either, for there is no such competition. Thus you will experience heaven again, this time forever. What we call death was created by God as part of the process of evolution. It is not the end of our existence, however, but rather a simple transformation from one life form into another, as is birth. Both are part of the everlasting and eternal journey of the soul from the realm of the spiritual to the realm of the physical and back again. The Western theological myth of Adam and Eve is an orientation story created by human beings who did not understand and could not explain death, and so created a tale which was both totally inaccurate and completely unbelievable. Hang on. Nevertheless, many people embraced the allegory until humanity's new cultural story was at last written in the first quarter of the 21st century. We don't have to compete for anything, especially God. Many other cultures around the world had their own origination stories, and most told the same tale, one of separation from God for one reason or another, and thus the loss of everlasting life. But now those cultures too have abandoned their old cultural story in favor of the new cultural story of humanity. Hang on a second. The new story tells us that God never took away our everlasting life, and that we don't have to worry about breaking his rules, because she doesn't have any. God's love is unconditional, and so are God's rewards. God loves us and would never condemn us to everlasting damnation, even if there were such a thing, which there is not. God has made it possible for all of us to return home, and nothing can stop that process, even if we do what we call misbehave. There is no such thing as misbehaving in the mind of God, any more than you would say that an innocent baby has misbehaved. We are the children of God, and God sees us in exactly this new way. The new cultural story tells us if you saw you as God sees you, you would smile a lot. The trick is therefore to not imagine that we can misbehave. We were designed to live a good life, and it is only our misguided thought about who we are and how life is that can interrupt that process. We must strive to stop mistaken thinking, for it is as Shakespeare wrote, "Nothing is evil, lest thinking make it so." In order to set aside mistaken thinking, we have to know the truth about God's desire and what God does and does not want from us. We have to know that God wants nothing at all, because God has and is everything. What then could God possibly want or need from us? We do not, therefore, have to worry about pleasing God. We do not have to seek to avoid offending her or angering him. We merely have to know that there is no such thing as right and wrong. Only that which serves, that which works, and that which does not. Depending on what it is we are trying to do, we have to understand the truth about that. It is not our benefit to give ourselves all advantages. The truth is simple to understand and easy to know. All we have to do is listen to the prophets, the teachers, the sages, and the source and founder of our religion. Not to those who have subsequently misinterpreted them, but to the sources and the founders themselves. There is more than one religion, and therefore more than one source and founder, but they all spoke the same basic truth. Because this is so, there is no way to pick the wrong one. All religions speak truth at their core. It is the misinterpretation of their messages and the add-on messages that have rendered so many of our current teachings inaccurate and misleading. Because all religions at their core speak truth, there is no way to pick the right one and thus declare yourselves to be superior or better than your peers because you have the truth on your side. It is now clear to everyone that this state of being better is an illusion, which in the past allowed some people to falsely claim most of the prizes in what they imagined to be the contest of life. They declared themselves to be the winner in a competition, ignoring the fact that the competition was not needed. The new story has made it clear to everyone that it is not to our benefit to give ourselves all the advantages and to write the rules of life in such a way that certain others find it nearly impossible to win the really big prizes. And so no one does this anymore. Because human beings do not do this anymore, peace and joy is guaranteed as rightly as it should be, since no matter that our religion, our nationality, our race, our gender, or our political persuasion, we deserve to be winners in life. God has set it up to be a process with no losers. Because we all deserve to win, and we all do win, we have no need or desire to threaten others, to fight with them, or to kill them in order to produce this result. There is no better way to live than to live without competition, without insufficiency, without the requirement to mollify an angry and vindictive God, without need of any kind, and with only love as our constant expression and experience. To live this way is to live as if we were divine, and that is exactly how God designed life to be lived. There is no other thing that God has in mind, no other larger truth, and there is no need to search for one. Everything there is to know about life, we are supposed to know, and the knowing of it is very easy. All we have to do is live inside the truth of love. All we have to ask is, what would love want? What would love do? What would love give? With these simple questions, it is possible to truly know and understand God. God is not the unknown knower, but the knower that resides within all of us, the unmoved mover, the great unseen. Therefore, we can easily know the truth of who we are and who God is. All we need to do is go deeply inside to the source of your everlasting knowing and ask God to reveal it itself. Itself there. True ignorance is impossible and is one of the 10 illusions of humans. All we need to do is embrace what we now know, our new cultural story, and live its basic message of love. If we seek to do this, each according to his or her own ability, we will produce the life for which we have all yearned, and the reality of earth of which we have all long dreamed. Just a start, just a beginning. I know it's a long narrative, but hang on, because right now I'm going to break this down into groupings, each with identical categories, so that we can take a look at how all the broad-based concepts above would function in everyday beliefs and everyday life, after we look at how they function or how they are functioning for most human beings right now. We've been talking here about co-creating with you a new cultural story that would change beliefs. That is the core here. That's the shift that must occur if we are to create a new humanity, a new way of living, a new reality. If we are to complete the overhaul of humanity in a way that brings an end to the storm before the calm and moves us into the calm itself. I'm going to say it again. We have to change our beliefs. About what? About a lot of things, and most important, about God. And let me tell you why. Hang on. Much of our lives is wrapped up in what humanity believes about God and about what God expects and demands and requires of us. This is true because our cultures, our customs or morals, our social mores, our business ethics, our codes of conduct are all built around our understandings of God. This is not surprising in a world where the vast majority of people in every corner of the world profess a belief in some sort of greater power or power greater, by whatever name or description. But it is not our only our cultures, customs, morals, mores, ethics, and codes that are wrapped up in our concepts of God and God's commands. Most of our civil law from country to country is based on religious doctrines. And religious doctrines, of course, are based on human interpretations of what are considered divine demands. I went to Wikipedia not long ago and looked up the origin of laws. I learned that the Roman Catholic Church has the oldest continuously functioning legal system in Western Europe, predating the common and European civil law traditions. I discovered that what began with rules, canons, adopted by the apostles at the Council of Jerusalem in the 1st century, blossomed into a highly complex and original legal system, encapsulating not just the norms of the New Testament, but some elements of the Hebrew, Old Testament, Roman, Visigothic, Saxon, and Celtic legal traditions, spanning thousands of years of human experience. You can find out the same information by following this link, http, it's en.wikipedia.org/wiki/canon_law. But let me save you the trouble. The encyclopedia tells us that the institutions and practices of canon law paralleled the legal development of much of Europe, and that those consequently both modern civil law and common law bear the influences of canon law. Wikipedia informs us that Edson Luiz Sample, a Brazilian expert in canon law, says that canon law is contained in the genesis of various institutes of civil law, such as the law in continental and Latin American countries. Sample explains that canon law has significant influence in contemporary society, and the italics are the authors. The most famous ancient civil code is the Corpus Juris Civilis, a codification of Roman law, remember that phrase, produced between 529 and 534 AD by the Byzantine Empire, Justinian I, which forms the basis of civil legal systems. Other civil codes used since ancient times include various texts included in religious laws, such as the law of Manu in Hindu law, the Mishansha in Jewish halakha law, the canons of the apostles of Christian canon law, and the Quran and Sunnah in Islamic Sharia law to some extent. Historically, Roman law also denotes the legal system applied in most of Western Europe until the end of the 18th century. In Germany, Roman law practice remained longer, having been the Holy Roman Empire from 936 to 1816, thus the great influence on the law systems in Europe. Moreover, the English and North American common law also were influenced by Roman law. Roman civil law that applied to only Roman citizens was bonded to religion. Italics, again, are the authors. I've gone into this in some detail here because I want you to know that I wasn't kidding when I said that what humanity believes about God and God's expectations and requirements of us affects every person, even those who themselves do not believe in God at all. Not the least of the ways in which we are all affected has to do with beliefs held by millions about what God has set down for humanity, for human beings as acceptable behavior. I'm talking about human society's basic ideas about right and wrong. Let's take a look at what many of us have been taught about that, shall we? This is going to be very instructive, eye-opening actually. Points that I hope you'll remember. We were born into a friendly world. We are not only one with all life, but with everything else in life. God would never condemn us to everlasting damnation. Everything there is to know about life we are supposed to know, and the knowing of it is very easy. What we believe about God and about God's desire and demands is important even to agnostics or atheists, because our civil laws throughout the world are based in more than small measure on religious doctrines. Action I hope you will take. Write your own version of the new cultural story for humanity. Post your new story at the website www.theglobalconversation.com. Make a list of the laws where you live that you see are clearly based on religious doctrines or beliefs. Laws against gay marriage, for instance, or forbidding stem cell research, or begin a campaign working with others to repeal those laws. End of chapter.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody like to start?
Yeah, let's get busy, everyone.
I think it's really interesting given what we're going through in this country right now with the religious fanatics basically wanting to take over and write the laws to suit themselves, specifically, women's rights, choice on the part of women. I mean, even with things like vouchers for schools instead of public education, you can kind of see the effect of this kind of thinking throughout our society right now. So that was one thing I thought. The other thing I really like was, of course, that paragraph about what would love do, because that's what I've been trying to, live by. Not always easy. Anybody else want to say something, and then I might have more to say.
I think it's fascinating, the timing of this, given the current nominee for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat. Not only is she religious, but she belongs to a religious cult within the Catholic denomination. So it's like she's on the far fringes even. It's the timing is just fascinating of reading this chapter.
What is the cult? I missed that.
It's the hang on, I have to pull it out of my Pride of Praise, or I'll go look, but praise is one of the words in there.
Yeah, I am not familiar with that at all.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and she
it's bad.
Taken like a vow to that cult. I think that should disallow her. Like, that thing where they used to think Catholics shouldn't be the president because they owe their fealty to the Pope, which I think is ridiculous. But in this case, I read that it's like they have their own counselors within the church, like that they report to and who counsel them on things. How do we know that her, and I forget what it's called, I want to say handmaiden, but it's something weird like that.
It is called People of Praise. And it is very much, the model of it is very much like the story in The Handmaid's Tale. It talks about how the man is the head of the household, the women answer to the men. This person, in my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for anybody here, I'm not speaking for a humanities team or anything, but in my personal opinion, this is someone who shouldn't even be a judge. She should not have a seat on any bench whatsoever, because she is very, very influenced by her religion. And in this country, that should bar people from being on the bench, in my opinion. Over.
I agree with your opinion. I don't know how I missed that, since I've always got the news on.
They're not making a lot of noise about it. They're trying to keep it really quiet. And they're going to say that we're all a bunch of screaming liberals when we bring it up.
But the thing, it's like people can have religions and stuff. It's that thing where they have these people that they sort of report to within the religion who have an effect on how they live their lives. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what concerns me, because then that person, you know, if she's answering to that person, that's like an outside force that should not be affecting the law of our land.
I totally agree with you, and
it's very
appalled.
concerning.
Disconcerting. And given that Joe Biden is a practicing Catholic, I would like to hear his opinion. And that's my thought right off the. I'm going to need to go read up on this. Over.
Never mind that it's so insulting to the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, put in a freaking man who has those opinions would be less insulting. But like I read somewhere, you know, this woman has walked through every door that Ruth Bader Ginsburg opened, and now what she will do if she gets that position is shut them, right? It's just, yeah, me no likey.
Me no likey, just from what you told me or told us.
And yeah, I get a little worked up.
Well, I'm glad this discussion isn't partisan.
It was founded in 1971 in South Bend, Indiana. People of Praise has grown into a community of about 1,700 members. They're in 22 cities. It's a cult. There are now 22 cities across the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. 1,700 members, yeah.
Well, that is not a lot of people. But the fact that she's a member of it is what's frightening.
Right. Right.
I think what Neil's saying in this, just getting back to the old cultural story, which this lady is, you know, promoting big time. I think what it's saying is that there's a mean old guy who follows rules and slaps you in jail if you break them. That's the definition of God. And now we're sliding back to getting women to enforce that so that everyone can brag about, hey, we got women on the Supreme Court, you know? But he's found someone who's more of an old white guy than an old white guy.
Right.
I think that's so sad, is the role that women play in enforcing the old white guy thing. And I never watched The Handmaid's Tale, but I'm pretty sure that's in there too. You know, there's that evil woman, Serena or something, I don't know, who kind of is like the female enforcer of. Anyway, so he's got his enforcer and she will pass, and that's that. It's just interesting, the timing, like Linda says, how he wrote this book, what, like 10 years ago or something? And it's all what we're living right now. And it just makes the new cultural story more important. And wasn't that a pretty vision? I love the new culture stuff. And let's think about, like, you're bringing up the male and female thing, you know, even within the context of how children are raised in the traditional family, you know, excuse me, wait till your father gets home and he'll like punish the kid. So that mean old white guy who, I have these little round feminist tarot cards, and when you said that, I so see the card for that mean old white guy. It's called the Hierophant. Anyway, and it's all about that domination and subjugation, you know, whereas if you bring the female energy in of the nurturing mother kind of thing, you know, that's what the new story is, bringing in the love part rather than just the pound us down part. So I don't know, there might be something in there. Thank you. Over.
What's the Swedish view of this, Bima?
I actually don't know what to say, because I'm listening, because I'm not living in that normal system, and I'm worried because I have for so long time followed my intuitive spiritual guide inside, and I haven't cared so much about the situation. But I can see the news and so on, that there is a lot of discussions, of course, now in US, and it comes to us also in these times when you have internet and everything is discussed everywhere. And I feel that the only way, it is what is said here also, that beyond all religions, in the depths, that is the same source. So from the beginning, it was to connect to that inner connection and live from there. And that's the only way we can start to change and do something different, make different decisions, because the laws will not separate. As it is now, it's really horrible in a way, this planet today. So if I should accustom to that, I don't want to live here. So the only way to live in a good way is to connect to that source beyond. That's why I was interested in all kinds of religions and comparative religion and all these philosophies, and when I came to India and so on. So that has been my whole life, to study that beyond the separation, that core, and to live from there. And that is what we have to offer. And I think that is exactly natural. When the baby is in the womb, is one with the mother. Yeah. As we are one with the earth and with the cosmos. And why has this separation happened? Because of different religions that created somebody. It was not the one that was the founder or the source of that religion that created these rules. It was the people who came, and very much patriarchy. And so it has become common laws, and this, I mean, how to live here if we are not connected? It must be horrible. And that's why so many people take drugs and do a lot of crazy things, because they are longing to get into another kind of connection. And it is not given naturally in our families, because we are programmed by this. So I think to come to that field and be inspired by, I mean, this book is, this network here is for that. The oneness is for that purpose. So we have a challenge, all of us, to stay there and not be affected by the other things, and see that we are cared for by this source inside if we connect with it. That's how I see it. I don't know. That was my...
Well, I appreciate what you just said, and I'm curious.
About?
Well, I'm curious about what people in Europe think about the United States right now. It's like, are we just hellbound, or is it even conversation?
Yeah, I can understand that it's frustration, because I'm not in that field. I don't know what's happening. I just know that, as it's said in this book, no one is doing wrong, basically. But because we are all loved by this source, we are all connected to that. So how can we manifest that life? I don't think Europe is better than anyone, absolutely not. And Sweden is a program country as well. So the suffering is everywhere and the potential connection is everywhere. So how do we contribute to it? That is my question.
I have an idea. Let's meditate.
Well, we're almost to the time for that.
Okay.
So let's just
Yeah,
give it.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something. So I think let's not overlook these couple of paragraphs on page one. I think it's 132, where he says there's more than one religion and therefore more than one source and founder, but they all spoke the same basic truth.
Yeah.
Because this is so, there is no way to pick the wrong one. All religions speak truth at their core. It is the misinterpretations of their messages and the add-on messages that have rendered so many of their current teachings inaccurate and misleading. Because all religions at their core speak the truth. There is no one way to pick the right one and thus declare yourself superior or better than your peers because you have the truth on your side. The key here is that every single religion started as a preach of love.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one. And so if we're not in love, we're not.
Damn it.
I can't even think of the word. Like, love is the only thing there is, and it's the only thing we should be dedicating ourselves to.
Right. What I was thinking was love and unity. That's the core, right? Love and unity. And how ironic it is that then all these add-ons twist the religions so that they are used to separate. And the tribalism.
Right.
When Dima was
Right.
talking, that's what I thought about. It's like religion is one of the worst forms of tribalism.
Yeah, in the depths they are one. In the depths, all religions are in oneness because it's connected to source. On the surface, they are separated and enemies. So that's why we need to go to the core. Everywhere.
Can I say something, Bob Larrick? I work with the international community. They think we're crazy. I work with these issues with Wainwright House, as well as Association for Spirituality and Psychotherapy, and the religious, and the UN, actually. You're right that there's a love and a wisdom in all religions, but they seem to get into war, like nation states or tribes. We tend to be overly competitive, and it doesn't make sense. We need to be more at peace within ourselves and each other, and to perfect ourselves under our religious, spiritual state as well. Which, are you familiar with the One Planet Peace Forum, which is going on again today between 3 and about 6?
I am not familiar with that.
Oh, it's
No.
One Planet Peace Forum. I think if you look it up, I can't give you my password, but if you look it up, One Planet Peace Forum, they have something in this spirit between 3 and Global Interfaith Prayer Service. That's something different. If you look it up, I think it'll come up.
We can look it up.
I'm sorry if I interrupted, but thank you. But thank you for the. We certainly need better interpretations and a different, perfect ourselves and our societies. And you're right. I think the European and the rest of the world, which are things I work on, realize that individual, overly materialistic, egotistical, freedom, fun, and games, individualism is not really providing us with healthier, happier, holier, peaceful states here or any place else, and should not be modeled upon as holier than whatever. Good time to meditate.
it's time to meditate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, God, here we are, all 7 of us, excited that interdependence, wholeness, and harmony are the new cultural story. We're done with the negativity and hierarchical domination, which has depleted every form of joy. Our purpose here now is to consciously, intentionally bring the remembering of human hearts and thereby the planet, and every one of us on this call is in agreement that love and kindness are the basis for our future. And we're bringing that vision into manifestation here now. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Erica.
Thank you, Shabana.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to read this with you, Linda. When I read it by myself, I don't get it.
Silly.
Yeah, I love our group.
Me too.
I do too.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Thank you for all your hard work, Robert.
Yes.
You're muted.
Yeah, Robert's not used to the fact that I put everybody on mute when you're not talking because we can hear all sorts of background noise. So everybody is usually on mute when they're not talking.
Can you unmute him for a minute? I want to say something to him.
Robert, you want to unmute yourself? There you go.
Thank you for this meeting and your spirit. We need to get our universal soul creator more in line with this spirit of love, and actually I've been working on those things too. It's a Jewish holiest period of the year, and we need to perfect the human condition and our religious condition. And I believe that's our creator, universal soul, Father, Mother, Creator is God's orientation for all his creation and children, and challenges us at this very troubling time to be more in line with your loving spirit too.
Well, it's an opportunity for people like you, Robert, even though they happen to be men.
Yes, that's usually, we usually wanted a few men, but I'm not the only one.
But we need
Well,
a few men.
A few.
Well, I'm glad you're representing the best of your gender.
Thank you. I promote Gloria Steinem's Revolution from Within for men too.
Right.
You're
Excellent.
right. You're absolutely right.
You guys are such a kick.
We need better men.
But it is
We need
very
better men.
important from sundown tonight to sundown tomorrow night is the holiest day of the year for Jews. I also think it's the Muslims have a holiday like this too right now. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this is a really good time to pray for mankind. And there's a movement going on now in Washington, I believe, and there's so much going on all over the place that the next, I feel, 24 to 48 hours could really make a difference. So I encourage everyone to pray extra hard.
Yes, we'll pray for all, not just Jews and spirit, the true spirit of Jerusalem and Abrahamic spirit of brotherhood, but for all humanity to be in a more loving spirit. And sisterhood, yes. I'm one of the few men. There are other ones.
For all mankind.
Yes, exactly.
Humankind.
Humankind.
Yes.
For all humankind and animals.
Sentient beings, exactly.
That's right. All life. Okay.
All life. All life. All living things.
Yeah.
I love you all.
Love you too.
We will
Thank you, everyone.
see you next Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.